There can only be one truly great music festival a lifetime, and it's the US Festival.
The what festival?
The US Festival. Yeesh. It was sponsored by that guy from Apple Computers.
What computers?
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Fort Leonard Wood. It covers 71,000 acres of the Mark Twain National Forest in the Missouri Ozarks, southwest of St. Louis. It was in December of 1940 that the groundbreaking ceremonies commenced. Only a handful of officials were present on that day, but it was an unknown soldier from a huge army of construction workers that turned the first shovelful of dirt for the beginning of the nation's largest engineer training center, a post that has over the years trained thousands of fighting men. There were many difficulties encountered during the construction, but nevertheless the work continued at a furious pace, and the fort was virtually completed by the beginning of May. With the completion of the fort and the 22-mile stretch of railroad track leading to it, soldiers began pouring in at full speed. From the early part of 1941 until the post closed in 1946, Fort Leonard Wood had trained some 300,000 fighting men. During the years that followed the war, Fort Leonard Wood lay dormant with only a handful of groundskeepers to care for it. Soon it was time to activate Fort Leonard Wood again. The year 1950 brought with it the need to train our fighting men once again. This time it would be Korea. The fort was named in honor of Major General Leonard Wood. He was born October 9, 1860 in New Hampshire. He was a graduate of Harvard Medical School, was White House physician to President William McKinley, and was military governor of Cuba. But most notably, General Wood won the Medal of Honor for his action in the campaign against the Apache Indian chieftain Geronimo. The museum here at Fort Leonard Wood contains much memorabilia, from the pictures of the original construction to weapons of past wars. Care has been taken to ensure that every detail is exact. The Fort Leonard Wood Museum houses one of the most extensive collections of firepower in the United States. During the Korean conflict, Fort Leonard Wood supported the 6th Armored Division. On March 16, 1956, the 6th Armored Division was inactivated and replaced with the United States Army Training Center engineer. The Secretary of the Army signed the order March 21, 1956, making Fort Leonard Wood a permanent installation. I am a drill sergeant. I will assist each individual in their efforts to become a highly motivated, well-disciplined, physically and mentally fit soldier capable of defeating any enemy on today's battlefield. I will instill pride in all I train, pride in self, in the Army, and in country. I will insist that each soldier meets and maintains the Army standards of military bearing and courtesy consistent with the highest traditions of the U.S. Army. I will lead by example, never requiring a soldier to attempt any task I would not do myself. But first, last, and always, I am an American soldier, sworn to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. I am a drill sergeant. It is to these drill sergeants that we dedicate this film.
It was almost pitch black as we arrived, pretty unnerving. As the bus unloaded and I saw that first drill sergeant standing there, I began to ask myself, what have I done? Is it too late to turn back? Before I could muster another thought, we were inside and learning the position of attention. As we stood at attention, while they played the Star-Spangled Banner, a strange feeling came over me, pride. I was also struck with a sense of belonging. I had a feeling it was going to be tough, but then again I knew that. But I also knew it would be worth it. I was going to be part of the greatest team around. We were welcomed by the post commander in a videotape presentation. The commander of the videotape told us about the long and proud traditions of the United States Army, and that it is something we should be proud of and that we should uphold the standards of those that came here before us. We were warned about contraband, such as knives, guns, drugs, and nuclear warheads. They said this would be our last chance to divest ourselves of anything. If we were caught with anything to be considered contraband after tonight, we would face serious consequences. They didn't have to tell me twice. Then it was time for all that paperwork. Man, there was a ton. But the good part was that after we leave here, some good warm chow and bed. This is the contraband room. This is where we leave the nuclear warheads. The close crop has always been a favorite of mine. What really impressed me was how long it takes. Talk about fast and accurate. Oh well, it'll grow again, I hope. This is immunization. It looks worse than it really is, and it has to be done. The Army wants you to be protected from everything. Some of us were a bit more apprehensive than others at this part. Blood tests. This is the part that separates the men from the boys. Some people just can't stand to see themselves separated from their own blood. It was now time to shed ourselves of the last remnants of civilian life and get something more suitable to hot and cold weather alike. Here we were outfitted with pants, shirts, underwear, socks, shoes, belts, gloves, and hats so quickly that we hardly had time to complain about the fit. It's amazing. It all fits. Then it was time to meet him. The man who we would spend the next 8 weeks with. The man who would shape us into soldiers. Our drill sergeant. Ooh boy.
One of you people saying R-A, T-R, or N-G without the ma'am, you're mine. You will owe me, and I will collect.
For the next 8 weeks, this man would be our cautioning voice, helpful hand, and watchful eyes that would guide us through probably 8 of the most strenuous and demanding weeks of our lives. This man was to be looked at with admiration.
NOAA's search, probing satellite imagery for lost ark. Moviegoers will recently treated to Noah, an epic story of bravery and sacrifice from the Old Testament, a saga in which the titular character takes on the divine mission to build an ark to save creation from an apocalyptic deluge. Outside the big screen, speculation has swirled for decades that the leftovers of Noah's Ark hugged the heights of Mount Ararat in eastern Turkey at a spot known as the Ararat Anomaly. In true detective jargon, call it an anomaly of interest. Satellite imagery and analysis may make it possible to resolve the mystery. Portia Taylor, a professor of paralegal studies in the School of Professional and Continuing Studies at the University of Richmond, has led the search into the Mount Ararat anomaly. Taylor's quest began long ago, he said. The cognitive genesis of my journey began in 1973, some 41 years ago, in my junior year as a cadet at West Point, he told Space.com. Back then, Taylor came across credible rumors, ricocheting off the walls of the academy that a CIA spy satellite had accidentally imaged what appeared to be the bow of a ship sticking up out of the ice cap on Mount Ararat, Taylor said. A couple of decades later, Taylor launched his own satellite declassification initiative investigating the Mount Ararat anomaly imagery. Drawing on his 21 years of armchair sleuthing, Taylor has given unclassified presentations at the Pentagon and the U.S. Naval Surface Warfare Center. Along the way, he declared victory in convincing the Defense Intelligence Agency in 1995 to declassify 5 1949 U.S. Air Force aerial photos of Mount Ararat. Additionally, thanks to Taylor's invitations, a number of experts over the years have performed analyses of the satellite imagery, which thankfully tempered my zeal as an amateur, Taylor said. So in this day and age, why continue the journey? The wealth of information provided by Digital Globe's satellite imagery keeps Taylor going, he said. My ultimate goal has always been that my acquisition over the years of progressively higher and higher resolution satellite imagery from Digital Globe of the anomaly might definitively change the anomaly into a known entity, either something geological or perhaps something of biblical proportions, Taylor said. Digital Globe's new and powerful WorldView 3 spacecraft is slated for launch from California's Vandenberg Air Force Base in summer 2014. Among its customer-provided attributes, the satellite will yield 31 cm, 12 inches, panchromatic resolution, making it the highest resolution commercial satellite in the world.
There can only be one truly great music festival a lifetime, and it's the US Festival.
The what festival?
The US Festival. Yeesh. It was sponsored by that guy from Apple Computers.
What computers?
Rock, rock, rock. You little thirsty out there? I never understood what it's like for a loser man. When the number one son goes back, playing cards with the devil's head. Daddy got you sick so quick, for the boss never understand. I was the one who got good with the gun, took the money from the rich man's land. Give me some water. I shot a man on the Mexican border. Cuckoo water. Oh. See that long white rope hanging from the hanging tree. Take a restless horse, tie my hands and cord. Mama, I'm finally free. Let me die like a man no one understands. Let me pray, let a poor man pray. Smack that horse. I said smack that horse in the ass. And with my last dying gasp, Bill, give him some water. Give me some water. Shut up, man, on the Mexican border. Cuckoo water. Give me some water. Give me some water. Shut up, man, on the Mexican border. Cuckoo water. Give me some water.
Turn on the water out there. Turn it on.
Shut up, man, on the Mexican border. Cuckoo water.
Turn the water on.
Give me some water. Thank you. I heard that we were. Thank you so much.
Yeah! Well, tonight being the last night of the full moon, we've got a little tear-jerker for all of you mentally disturbed out there. And if you got the Rocket to Russia album, then you'll remember this next one is entitled Here Today. Oh, 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 I love. Oh, 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 I love you. I do. I do. Oh, 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 I love you. Oh, 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 I love you. I do. Well, I told you why you just can't bear. I want you still, just can't take it. The time is coming, I'm to bring it. Someone to pay the price. Oh, 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 it's oh, oh, oh. It's true, it's true. It's over. It's true, it's true. I think of times we were together as time went on. Same old air. The times have changed, now things are better. Someone had to pay the price. Things are better.
find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile. And you may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife. And you may ask yourself,